G'day legends, I hope you're all amazing. On today's installment of Great or Garbage, we have a bit of a modern cult classic from Boss, the TE-2 Tera Echo. This is essentially a filtered, diffuse, multi-tap delay. It's a stereo input and output pedal. There are 4 basic controls: effect level, tone, feedback, and the curious S-time control. That is the one that holds the key to this particular pedal. To my ears, this is essentially Boss's take on the Eventide Ultra Tap algorithm, but it has a tonality and kind of feel all of its own. We'll hear it with some clean sounds and some big filthy sounds. Let's dive straight in. The beauty of this pedal is that with those 4 knobs, you can create all those different textures on there, from really tight, almost kind of gated filtered reverb on there to big, dirty ambient pads, and being able to take a kind of chugga-chugga heavy metal sound and turn it into a big, dirty synth pad is something this does very well. The S-time on there, I think the closest thing to the Tera Echo that I've heard would be something like the Eventide Ultra Tap algorithm or the Fractal Mega Tap delay. It sounds like it is using basically loads and loads of taps off an echo, and then it's applying some kind of resonant filter to them. This is what Boss call their multi-dimensional processing on there. I have seen people say that what it's doing is it's amplifying the overtones in there. Well, the way it's amplifying the overtones is it's filtering them out in there. And you can kind of hear, if you have S-time at a minimum and feedback quite low with the tone control at noon, you have this kind of resonant synth sweep on there. And it might be tied to the envelope in there. You could hear when I was picking harder, it was giving it more of a squelch in there. As you turn that tone control up and the feedback up, well, you're just going to get basically more echoes getting whooshed around in there. It's essentially going to create the effect of a reverb through a resonant filter. And then changing the S time is going to change the relative time between all the different echoes. When you crank it up, you kind of get that like bouncy ball sound where the first couple of echoes are really far apart and they gradually get closer and closer together. So have a listen to the difference between S time at minimum and max. While I was playing that, I was actually reminded of an effect that I haven't tried for quite a long time, and it is a spectral delay. I remember playing around with a program called Pure Data, and there's a spectral delay plugin that you can load into that. It's got a similar vibe going on there, and I imagine it took quite a bit of fine-tuning from the sound designers and engineers at Boss to calibrate all of this so it's not just one giant mess of feedback. This would also work really well in front of distortion if you're going for a big shoegaze tone on here. So I'll start with the effects level all the way down again so you can just hear the dirty, fuzzy sound that I'm using. I'll keep the tone control quite low, feedback below noon, and I'll play around with S time, but to start off with, I'll have it at the minimum. I remember when this pedal first came out, I was at a local music store and there was a rep from Roland and Boss demoing this, the multi-overtone, and I think it was the adaptive distortion pedal that they put out around 2013, if memory serves me correct. The person demoing was amazing, and I was really, really surprised by the sound of this pedal. I actually ended up buying the multi-overtone with my friend and friend of the channel, Mr. Ben Wilson. I know Ben still got his multi-overtone pedal. I sold mine ages ago, but I'm tempted to revisit the multi-overtone after playing around with this one. It really does shine in stereo. If you've got a big board with a bunch of fun, shiny effects on there that do unique things, you know, this doesn't take up too much extra space on there, and it's one of those pedals, I mentioned at the start of the video, kind of reminds me of the Eventide Ultra Tap algorithm. It does, but it's its own thing on there. The filtering, the way that S-time control can be manipulated to be really subtle, again, almost like a combination of a gated reverb and an envelope filter to just being this lush ambient pad on there. I imagine this would be amazing on keyboards because it takes kind of the most vanilla input and turns it into something pretty spectacular. I think that's the great strength of this pedal. It's also probably the thing that's going to put people off this pedal because sort of no matter what you feed into it, you get that Tera echo tone. I do like that Boss include this algorithm in a bunch of their modelers. If you've seen my videos with the GT1000 or the GX100, I've got a few little examples in there of using the Tera echo, but having 4 dedicated knobs and the classic Boss housing, there's just something about it. It's so much more tactile and enjoyable. And for the money that I spent on this, about $150 US, I think it's a keeper. I'd love to know your thoughts on it in the comment section below. Do you think this is great, or do you just hear it as another piece of garbage that ends up on a pedal board? It does one thing. It's like a single-use appliance or something like that. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. And if you like what I'm doing on the channel, there are links to my Patreon and the music that I make in the video description. Have a great day, and I'll see you next time.